Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chris Brown, your state senator, and I want to welcome you to today's coronavirus update. I hope all of you are doing well. And I'm joining you today because I believe it's important that we do everything we can to share with you as much information as possible during this obviously difficult time. Now, there's a lot of information out there, and I try to focus this solely to Atlantic County and Atlantic County families. And we are on day 40 of the lockdown. My children are still mocking the beard in its attempt. If you think it looks that horrific, you could type in shave. If you want to see the train wreck, type in let it grow. Um, so before we begin, if you know anyone who may benefit from the information we're about to give, please have them log in, and you can share this now with them. And that includes retirees, seniors, veterans, just about anybody, people who are worried about their unemployment benefits. And also, as you may know, we continually post information on my Facebook page in the coronavirus resource guide. And that's just for Atlantic County. So you go in there and it should have answers to any questions you may have. We update it regularly, so please, you can go back often. And if you have questions or things you think we should add, we're happy to do that as well. Um, After our conversation, and we're very fortunate, we have with us today Congressman Jeff Van Drew. And after that conversation, we are going to provide updates on important issues such as unemployment and the benefits. And that is one that is not only driving me crazy, but I know that is also making it very difficult for all of you. So today we have with us, we're fortunate to have Congressman Jeff Van Drew. And during the conversation with the congressman, we'll be posting in our comments section phone numbers and websites to help you. So without further wind up, Congressman, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be with you, Senator Brown. Chris, thank you for the good work that you do. You've been really trying to stay on top of this and work with your constituents under the most unusual and challenging circumstances of our lifetime. I've said before, other than World War II and the Great Depression, there's been nothing like this, and this is unique because it's different. It's biological warfare, but you've been doing a great job, and I'm proud that you are one of my colleagues, one of my senators. As I go in Washington, I know I can always depend on you for help and careful and thoughtful comments.
Well, thank you. So to get started with, how are you doing? How are you holding up?
Well, I'm holding up fine. It's interesting. Working more than I ever did before, which is bizarre because people think, well, gee, you're home a lot. We've been in Washington a number of times, and we had to do that very carefully. That will be historic, I think. So let me just talk about that a little bit. So it's interesting. I am on the phone constantly, and I would say, without exaggeration, putting in 12 to 14-hour days. Numerous times over the past 40 days, I have lost my voice. And even today, I'm a little bit on the way to doing it. If you talk to me a little later in the afternoon or in the evening, you'll see, hey, he doesn't even sound like the same guy I know. So that's one change for me, is losing my voice just from talking so much, and we're trying to help so many people. We have 15,000 active cases because remember, we don't have one county, we have 8 counties, and we have 92 towns. So if there's a problem, we hear about it, and we're glad to hear about it, and we're glad to try to help. And we are trying to help everybody as much as humanly possible. We're doing everything that we can. In fact, at one point, I was so disturbed by the lack of PPE, masks particularly, that I just made a decision that the spend, which is legal, I checked, some of my campaign money, $10,000, and then $5,000 of my own personal money, $15,000 worth of masks, N95s, and surgical masks, which we gave to hospitals that were particularly in need, and we gave to any type, like a nursing home or an assisted living facility, any type of facility that would really need something like that. And it didn't take care of the whole problem by any means, but just kind of made me feel good. One of the interesting things, Chris,
Yeah.
is just how when we do have to go to Washington, D.C., which they're still trying to not do too much of because they don't want us getting sick and spreading it all over. Now, I'd say relatively soon you're going to hear that we are, going back. I think there's going to become a point within the next week to 2 weeks. I think we will be going back. But we had the big vote, obviously, legislative package for the coronavirus. And I have to say, for once, things were really thought out. So what you would do is you had to stay in your office. You couldn't be wandering the halls, which was the weirdest thing. I'm in the Cannon building, and I could look from one end of the Cannon building hallway where I am, which is on the third floor, to the totally other end and not see a living soul. It was, for lack of a better term, creepy. It was different. And then when they would call you, which what they would do is based on the alphabet, you would be called to go and vote. So there were people say, Chris Brown, you would have voted early on because your last initial is V. And when you're stuck with the old Van Drew with a V,
Right.
You're going towards the end. But the way they would do it is call a certain number at a time. You would go down into the Great Hall and vote on the floor, and you would come in one door and one way, vote, and then come out another way, another aisle, and another door, and leave and go back up. So you were really having no contact with anybody. Now, we were still wearing masks and all, but there was no contact. And it's just, I think, going to be something that's historic because we've just never, since the founding of this nation, did people vote this way. You would vote by sitting together, usually pretty closely, and sometimes even sweating it out, especially in the old days when we started, and debating and arguing and jumping up and down and so forth. And this was just a very somber, a small line of people, at least 6 feet apart. I'd say they were more like 10 feet apart, though, at least, and going in and going out. So that was unusual, but it got the job done. So
Well,
the whole world's different, Chris. But I'm doing the same amount of work, more.
Well, I know that everyone appreciates that. And so the federal government's response obviously has been unprecedented, as you talked about. And would you be able to review with us what help the federal government is providing our, let's say, Atlantic County families and businesses?
Well, and that's important. And we need to do more, and we need to do even better. And it's not easy to do. But, working with your county, being supportive and trying to get any federal help or federal assistance. Of course, you have, and in fact, Atlantic County, I think, has done a good job on the testing, and you have the test site. So that's important, and that's something that the county really worked on, but that the federal government is part of and assists and aids. And I want to congratulate you for getting that done because the testing is the name of the game. Eventually, we are going to find out that, in my opinion, we're going to find out a lot of things. Number one, we don't have the science down completely on this. We don't know everything about this virus. Originally they thought millions were going to pass. Thank God that did not happen. The number is much, much lower than anything they ever expected. Thank God in heaven, because it would have really been bad, and our hospitals really wouldn't have been able to handle all that would have, occurred because of it. We also have what's called a paycheck protection program. Good program for most people, not for everybody. some people, it's a problem because for some people, unemployment is better, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But we did another over 300 billion for the Paycheck Protection Program, and also wanted to make sure that smaller and community lenders were involved because to some degree that wasn't happening. So a certain amount of that money was put aside for small and community lenders. Now, let me be clear because people are misunderstanding and think there's a small number of people that think we are bailing out small or community lenders or helping them. That is precisely not right. It is incorrect. What it is we're getting them the dollars to be able to get the money to the constituents. The small community lenders don't get any big deal out of this. The banks generally don't. They're not getting a huge bailout or anything like that, which happened in the last recession. So this money that the federal government gives then goes right back to the people. The problem is that so many people have lost their job. There are so many issues. There are so many problems that we run out of the money really quickly. And you saw that last time. And I'm telling you, I really believe we're going to run out quickly again. Wow. Because the money that we just got, the most recent round that we just did, a tremendous amount of that is going to go for people who are already in the queue. And I would tell you, if any of you have questions about this, you have issues, you want to know some knowledge, what's the best way to go. We're very fortunate in our office to have a number of individuals, Scott and Chris and some other people, my chief of staff, Allison, to work with that have helped people a lot and are actually quite knowledgeable about it, particularly Scott. He has been working on this day and night. If I told you that I call him 7 days a week. In fact, I call most of my staff 7 days and nights a week. I mean, it's not unusual to hear from me 8, 9 o'clock on a Sunday night. Everybody will tell you that. And I told them, unfortunately, it's part of the job of working with me. But they, when somebody gets a hold of me and says, man, I just don't know what the best thing is to do, and I'm not getting the help or the information from, the federal government, we jump on it. Well, we tell them the truth.
May I ask you what that
Yes.
number may be? If there's somebody listening who has a federal issue or something to do with what you're speaking of, would it be okay if they reach out to you as well?
Absolutely. So office. The number in our and it all goes to the same place. Real quick, what we did was like you did, like everybody did. So we had to have the phone answered somehow. We've given each of our people have 2 cell phones, so they're able to try to keep up with this. What happens is we're not allowed to be in our Washington office, a large number of us. I mean, one person could be there isolated, but you can't have our whole team, which I think is going to change hopefully soon, be there. So what happens is you ring the number, it goes to the cell phone immediately of one of our staff people, and then they either take care of the problem or they give the problem to one of our other staff people who are more of an expert on the particular subject. Especially in Washington, you develop people who have expertise in certain areas. John Kirk, it's unemployment. Allison Murphy, it's everything. It is. I know.
Poor Allison.
She probably, we've all known her for years, right? I mean, you
Yeah,
remember
she's great.
State Assembly, but she probably is, I think she probably wonders at a time, why she met me. But anyhow, in all seriousness, Scott is wonderful. He's good with unemployment, and he's really good with the PPE and all the stuff that goes along with that. So bottom line, you call a number 202-225-6572, and that will get you, to one of our people. Noelle is usually the person answering the phone, and Noelle is great. She knows the system and who to get what person where. And then also our other number in Mays Landing, that was our Washington number.
Okay.
Our Mays Landing number is 609-625-5008. If it is busy, don't give up. It won't be busy like unemployment is, where there'll be a shutdown and you won't get us. You will get us. It's just that as I said, we have 15,000 active cases right now. So again, the numbers are the Washington, and you can call either number.
Right.
Either number will get you right where you want to be. The Washington number is 202-225-6572, and the Mays Landing number is 609-625-5008. My email is vandrew.house.gov. So that's another source as well. Although sometimes the calling is better. There's the problems we have. There's so many ways of reaching people that sometimes it takes time to get to everybody because they're doing it a whole bunch of different ways. Sometimes I will talk to them. Very often, a lot of people just, as you know, they want to talk to the state senator. They want to talk to you. It's the same with me. They want to talk to the congressman. I'm glad to do that. Sometimes we tell them, though, it may be 72 hours before I get to them, unless it's a real extreme emergency, only because I have hundreds and hundreds of people to call. So I will get to you. It just takes a little bit of time.
Well, one of the things I appreciate is why we tried to do this Facebook Live conversation is because we're blessed down here. We still have the press, and of course the press does a great job and has a lot of local information, and anybody who's not getting the press, I'd say it's worth the money. It's a great paper, but
it's a good resource.
It's a great resource. And so we've lost TV40 and we've lost other outlets that were local for everybody. And so you being here today is just another avenue, another way that we can try to communicate with people and focus them in on Atlantic County. And you've done that so far, and I certainly appreciate, and I know your constituents appreciate your openness and availability. Another question that if someone has not received their stimulus check or a small business needs help applying for an SBA loan or PPP, what should they do?
Well, they can start going through their process. You can get right online and obviously start. But what I would recommend to a lot of them, because it's a tricky system and you navigate it, and God help you if you make a minor mistake, next thing you know, you're not in the queue,
Right.
and then they run out of money. So I often, to give people direction, tell them at least to have, at the very least, a brief conversation with Scott. Sometimes they have a longer conversation with Scott, and that's particularly over the PPE and also just everything in the SBA, the Small Business Administration. Which loan you should go for? Should you go for a loan? Should you go for the PPE? The PPE is not good for everybody in the tourism industry. By the way, we changed the system just so that everybody knows to get the PPE. The problem is now, are they going to run out of money? I actually had dealt directly with the chief of staff in the White House and even mentioned it to the president that it was just blatantly unfair the way that it was before, because we have a different work schedule in areas that are largely tourism, and the number of days and how the days are determined whether you can get the PPE and go through and get this loan and go through this process. So that's worked out. They made the change, and I want to thank the administration so much, because so often I've dealt with a lot of administrations. You give them the information, you tell them, you talk, you need this change. It doesn't happen, and this really did happen. One other change that did occur that is coming up that you're going to hear about today, by the way, unless you know already, is at sunrise on May 2nd, the golf courses, this is a good thing, the golf courses and the state parks are going to be open in New Jersey.
Now,
so that's a good thing. That's a start.
That is wonderful. And if I understand what you're saying is that through your position and dealing with Governor Murphy and keeping our state moving forward, that it's May 2nd.
Yes.
And
at sunrise.
And tell us all again.
May 2nd at sunrise, the state parks and also the golf courses should be open, which is, I thought, common sense.
Sure.
There was other common sense things, and this one was changed too, and there's a lot more. We've got to start with sense and with security and with the proper health precautions. We've got to start opening the state up because you don't want to have a situation where the cure is worse than the disease. So the other one, I'll just give you a minor example sometimes where we could really help people, and this actually happened as well. So I had mentioned to the governor and to other folks as well that, for people, and this sounds like a minor thing, but it's their way of life. It's how they make a living. Dog groomers.
Right, right.
Dog groomers, actually, you can bring the dog into, say, a kennel. Many of them have it. So say I'm the person that has the dog. I bring it into the kennel. I close the door on my side, and then the person who is the dog groomer comes in on the other side, picks up the dog, does the grooming, takes care of it, comes back out, puts it in, closes his side. The dog goes out the other side with the person. Not even human contact. They
Right.
haven't even touched each other. There's no reason that can't exist. That was changed recently, and now dog groomers can go back in operation. So,
That is all great news, and it's always nice because the government is usually so botched up and gets in its own way that trying to get them to do anything that makes sense is often a struggle. And to see with your leadership and others taking some of these common sense approaches is great. And the understanding that there does get to a point where, provided the data and the science indicate it is appropriate, we do have to start focusing back on opening up our businesses, and particularly here in South Jersey. And one of the things in talking with the governor, and I know this is something that you express as well, our way of life is different in South Jersey. We are
yes.
much more seasonal based, and we cannot afford to lose an entire summer uh, and get by next winter. It's always been hard enough. So I know that the emphasis and the push has been we need to understand that South Jersey is different in many ways, but also in the effect that the coronavirus has had upon us. The per capita cases is very, very small, and one death is too many. But it is a different situation than you have in Bergen County or you have up north. And in dealing with the governor, and I know with your help as well, we understand that we're going to be setting up a special task force to look at South Jersey, make sure that we're analyzed fairly. And while we're on that, we're having a lot of talk about the impact the pandemic is having on state and local governments. Is there any discussion in Congress on securing resources, and from your perspective, specifically to help our state, New Jersey, and our local governments here in Atlantic County?
So here is an interesting point, and something that we're going to have to hash out, and I think is going to be pretty intense, to be honest with you. So you have people who are from states where, quite frankly, fiscally, they just have less issues. I'm not going to go into detail on how the state of New Jersey has been run for many years and the amount of money that we bonded and borrowed, and how resistant many legislators have been to trying to tighten our belts. You know it, you see it, and you feel it all the time, Chris.
Yes.
You know it's out there, and you know that not this month, last month, 6 months ago, for years this has been going on with our pension system, with everything. So we have that issue, and then the next issue we have, through no fault of anybody's, Atlantic County or the state of New Jersey or anybody, it's abundantly clear that this disease, this war we're having with this invisible enemy, literally has cost us millions, and of course nationally billions and trillions. And it's going to be a long time, very long time, before we can get that all squared away. But we have to, at the federal level, I believe, help counties and help states to ensure that they don't completely collapse. Now, certain states are in really big trouble. New Jersey, of course. New York, of course, you would expect those two states. California, of course. Those are three states right off the bat. Now, those are the three worst. There are other states as well. And we're going to have to find a way to help them federally with all the costs that are related to COVID. If they are costs that are related to something that we did inefficiently or something that we spent money on that has nothing to do with this disease, you're going to be hard pressed to get that help. But if we can at least get the help, which is the major part of it, that's related to the coronavirus, I think that's extremely important. If we don't, we literally, we're talking numbers like 20 billion. And for New Jersey, those are big numbers. So I think that we're going to have to work this out. And there's going to have to be compromise between the parties and between the points of view. There are just Congresspeople on both sides of the aisle that don't believe that this is something that's the responsibility of the federal government and there should have been a rainy day fund. I don't know how anybody could have had a rainy day fund for something like this.
No,
so it's going to be a fight. I'm going to fight it out, man. It's going to, you're going to hear, sometimes you'll hear a lot of noise and sometimes it's going to be behind the scenes, but that can't happen to us. And New Jersey going bankrupt, in my opinion, is not an option.
no,
It's just not a good option. And it's something that it would hurt us tremendously. So, yeah, the help needs to be there. Many of us agree. The Jersey delegation across political lines agrees. But we have to make sure that we get our friends from other regions of the country to agree as well.
Well, yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'll just shift gears a little bit.
There's one thing I don't want to leave without talking about.
Okay, please do.
Unemployment.
Well, we're going to, we could get there now if you want. Yeah. Okay, so.
If I could, real quick.
Absolutely. Take your time because I can tell you that as you have active cases, we have over 1,000 active cases here. The vast majority of them deal with unemployment. The fact that only in New Jersey, you call the number, it hangs up on you, no one answers, you can't leave a message, and you're dealing. It is, right? And so New Jerseyans were tough, and so we laugh or cry. And so we're working with over 1,000 active cases trying to help people. And so, in fact, I believe next week when we do this, the whole time is just going to be dedicated to bringing in an expert from unemployment to help guide people, reassure them and explain to them what the process is and hopefully help ease their frustration because it's so hard. You're going through it. But so it's wonderful we have you, and now with Congressman Jeff Van Drew going to talk to us a little bit about unemployment.
So I appreciate it because it's just such a big issue. We are overwhelmed with the system not working as well as it should. And, I like the Commissioner of Labor, Rob Angelo. He's a great guy. He's a good American. He cares about people and the whole staff over there. But the system sometimes just crashes. Sometimes you can't get through for hours and hours. So one of the things we do and we are doing, and I know you are doing because I hear about it, is that we are helping in any way that we can. They have a new portal now that's supposed to be better. We're working on that, and we're helping people load that up. But this is a point I want to make, and I feel so strongly about. These are people that, through no fault of their own, because a terrible disease came to the entire world, and I'd like to talk about that later, came to the entire world, their whole lives have been changed. They could lose their homes, their children's education, their ability to function, their life, and they are upset and they're scared and they need help. And we're the only ones there to try. And when I hear things, sometimes half of curing a problem is admitting the problem is there. So the other day I was on a conference call with the governor, and later on he was kind enough to have some of his head staff people have another conference call with me because I was complaining. They said that the average claim was done in 3 weeks. It's not done in 3 weeks in South Jersey. I
No.
don't know where it's done in 3 weeks, but it ain't South Jersey. So, and I said that clearly that it wasn't. And the extended unemployment, we have the federal guidelines for it, and yet it's still said on the website, and hopefully they've corrected it, that they were waiting for the federal guidelines. We've got them. Let's get the extended unemployment out there for people that
Yes.
don't know. That's for people who already were on because they work in a tourist area, and so they were on unemployment already. They're out, and they're going to just collapse and not be able to pay their rent or their mortgage. So they need help because normally they'd be going back to work. We need to do better on unemployment. I'm glad you're having an expert on, and I just want people to know, again, we're working at it. We are working at it, and sometimes, not an exaggeration, the other day, my staff, and especially my chief of staff, worked into the wee hours of the morning. I mean, I think she was up to like 3 or 4 in the morning trying to enter these things. Not talking to people on the phone, but trying to help with the problems that they have that they had left with us.
Yeah.
So that's where we are with that. But it's a real problem, and it's got to be fixed. These systems can't crash. We need updated technology. We know that unemployment's going to come up again. We had the Great Recession. We've had this. There'll be other things. Let's get this working right.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, and I appreciate your time. Is there anything else that you would like to update everyone who's listening on or about? You already gave us breaking news with the May 2nd openings in New Jersey, which was phenomenal. Is there anything else you'd like to update our listeners about?
Yes, there's one more thing. In every tragedy in life, hopefully you learn something, and we really better have learned something from this. We have a China issue, and whether it's our supply chain, I will say this, that in the United States of America, we should manufacture what we use. We should be able to produce and manufacture our prescription drugs and our generic drugs. We should not rely on another nation. That is insanity, and we should have never let it happen. And it's, I guess, everybody's fault. That has to be straightened out, number one. Secondly, with China, we need a special investigatory committee to find out what is going on in general with them, because there are things that are going out. They found out most recently that the real numbers of people that got COVID there were 500 times what they actually told us, as best we can tell, because we're never getting the real truth on it. Thirdly, there is something that's got to be done with reparations. The entire literally globe, the entire world, Europe, the United States, North America, Australia, everywhere has been devastated by this disease because we didn't get the real information that we should have. The World Health Organization actually lied. This is the World Health Organization, and they said there was no danger from transmission from one person to another person. And thank God, whether you like him or don't like him, thank God the president shut down travel between China and the United States much earlier than normally would have been done. And he was criticized for it, being hateful and mean. No, he saved a lot of lives. I mean, whether you like him or not, that's not, I mean, that was the right thing to do, and it was really important.
Well, I could, when you're talking about China, you remember I've spent quite a bit of my life with the military and
yes,
served overseas with the 82nd Airborne Division, being attached to them. And so whenever you talk about communists, there's always the word godless in front of it. So when you're talking about China, we're just talking about godless communists. And so I really don't have any expectations for them to ever do anything right, whatever godless communist country you may come from. So I would say that I agree with you that we definitely need to investigate better the origins. But my focus here is try to keep it on Atlantic County and the state of New Jersey. And Congressman Van Drew, you have been a breath of fresh air. It's been wonderful, all the hard work you're putting in, the hours upon hours of trying to help each constituent. And I can certainly empathize with that because, like I told you, it's just we have a small staff here, and Nick and Tom, and we have over 1,000 active cases of people that we're trying to help. So, as we part, is there anything else you'd like to say to everybody listening?
It's just imparting how proud I am of you. Looking forward to working with you and Senator Testa
Yeah,
on district right next to you. As a team, all of us just trying to go in there and do the best. There's more that all of us have in common, and I know your job's Atlantic County, but
sure.
all of us in South Jersey have in common than anything that separates us for sure. That's actually true in many instances for the country and for the world. But I'm really proud of you. I look forward to with you and Senator Testa and just trying to help in any way. I'm always a phone call away, and I appreciate the work that you've done. And most of all, I appreciate you having me on today. And hopefully, I was able to impart a little bit of information. Thank you.
Well, I think you're wonderful, and we appreciate your time. And thank you. That was Congressman Jeff Van Drew calling in to give us an update on what's happening in our federal government and how it pertains to helping us here in New Jersey, and from my perspective, more particularly Atlantic County. And so we're very fortunate to have him here. And a lot of the information that he's given, whether it be his phone numbers or other information, we're going to put it in the side of the comments so that you can reach out, and you already know our information, and we'll be repeating it as we wrap up here. One of the things I told you that I would talk to you about is the unemployment as well as property taxes. Governor Murphy signed an executive order yesterday which permits municipalities to extend the grace period for property tax payments that are due on May 1st to June 1st. Now, what that means is you would have to talk to your governing body. If you're in Brigantine, you would talk to them, Ventnor, Egg Harbor Township. It's permissive. In other words, the governing bodies can postpone it, but it's not automatic. So you want to make sure that you've gotten the green light from your local government. And I believe that that is the kind of thing that we definitely want to be doing now, because people are struggling, and financially, if you can push it off. There was a funny Facebook video from a guy named Vic who was very angry about those who have money continuing to take money from us during a time where they should be empathetic. The update on unemployment, again, the biggest frustration for you and for me are the delays and the lack of responses from the unemployment office. I know you've tried to call the Department of Labor's phone line and no one there answers. And despite giving our displeasure to the front office, that is the only phone that they're using. Literally, as I said earlier, hundreds of you have contacted my office. We have over 1,000 active files, and we're working with each of you. When you call here, there's a good chance it may be busy, or that you may have to leave a message. I promise you, it's not like the Department of Labor or the unemployment line. We are calling every person back, and we're doing everything we can to help each person. I cannot promise you that we're going to be able to fix it and it's all going to work out perfectly. But what I can promise you is that we will do everything we can within our power to make sure we get you the information that you need, we get you the results that you're entitled to, and we get you an explanation if we're unable to get certain results. Every one of you are important and matter and should be treated with the dignity and respect you deserve. You will get that from me and my office, and we will make sure that you are treated fairly with all the government offices that you're trying to get through. When you do leave a message, please make sure you leave your name and a phone number so we can get back to you. You'd be surprised how many people actually don't do that. And we will make sure that once we hear from unemployment, we then get back to you. Um, on your behalf, as Congressman Van Drew mentioned, I too am in constant contact with Labor Commissioner Angelo, who has assured me you will get the benefits you are entitled to and you will be approved from the date you became eligible. So the great frustration is I'm not getting through, but they will backdate to the date that you are eligible. And another good news, which the congressman talked about, many of you are waiting on the details on unemployment uh, extensions. The Department of Labor has issued guidelines to help those applying for extensions. Now, what I'm going to do, if you need to apply for an extension, please go to the comments section of this Facebook Live post, and I am posting the information for you. I'm putting it there so that it can be helpful for you to apply and to qualify and get the extension of benefits you may deserve. Right now, Atlantic County is still taking appointments for virus testing. The next available date is Thursday, April 30th, behind the Hamilton Mall from 10 to 1. County residents who are symptomatic and have a doctor's prescription may make an appointment. You can make that appointment at the information that I'm providing you for the website in the comments center. It's basically atlanticcounty.org. But in addition, if you don't have internet access, you may call 609 645 7700, extension 4381. Now, as some of you may be aware, the other day I wrote to Governor Murphy, along with some of my colleagues in the Senate, encouraging him and urging him to start looking into ways to opening up our South Jersey economy. We pointed out in the letter that there is a difference between the impact of this virus between South Jersey, Atlantic County, Cumberland County, Cape May County, and North Jersey, Bergen County, Middlesex. So we started working with the governor's office as well as our local mayors, the Greater AC Chamber of Commerce, on a plan to get our economy up and running again. It is priority number one, but it is also tempered with the reality that we have to follow the federal guidelines and the state guidelines. We have to let the science and the data drive it. And what the President of the United States of America, along with our governor, has pointed out that we need 14 days of a downward trajectory, combined with making sure we have robust testing, combined with making sure that our hospitals and our staff are not at any type of capacity, but that they're wide open and ready in case we have a spike. And we know that that day is coming, and we're sure hoping that it can come before June 1st. And we're looking forward to reopening, getting people back to some kind of normalcy in their life where you can get out, walk, whether it's the golfing that we talked about or opening some of the parks and those leaders that we have on the shore community, making sure that they put a plan in place so that they can reopen the beaches, because we all know that you can't lock everybody up and that people need to be able to get out and enjoy the beautiful nature around them. So if you have any other questions, we're here to help. Please call my office at 609-677-8266 or email me at senchrissabrown@njleg.org. I'm going to continue to do my best to help each and every one of you, be here to respond and work with you. And although we are going through a rough time right now, we all know that with God's help, we're going to get through this. Stay well. God bless you.